Guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how to make this dress. So basically, as you can see, I have my fabric folded into two. So guys, the upper part of this is the most important part of the video, right? So as you can see, this fabric is folded into two and I have two of them. The width is my bust divided by 4 plus extra 3 inches or 4 inches, and then the length is just my shoulder to waist plus 1 inch, right? Half an inch for the top, half an inch for the bottom. So guys, if you already, so I'm going to separate it. One is the back panel, one is the front panel, but the two of them are the same width and the same length too. So guys, if you already have this way, you can go ahead and just draw in your princess dart, the front and the back, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and do mine. So basically, first thing you're going to do is to mark half an inch at the top to contain your measurements at the top. Then to join it at the top, I'm going to insert my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is going to be 8. So guys, now that you've done this, the next thing we have to do is just to go ahead. So you've insert your armhole, mark this way. The next thing we are going to do, guys, I'm going to try to link in the princess dart tutorial so that you can go and watch that. So the next thing I'm going to do is, you see I have my shoulder to my nipple, the shoulder to my underbust, the shoulder to my waist, right? So then the next thing I'm going to do is on this my nipple line, I'm going to do my nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half an inch. Come down here, do my nipple to nipple divided by 2, remove the half an inch, and then mark the same thing here, remove the half an inch. So I'm going to connect this last two with a straight line this way, and then connect it to this one this way. The next thing I'm going to do is on this my armhole, this armhole curve that came in this way, I'm going to mark my divided by 2, which is going to be somewhere here at 5.5. I'm going to connect it down to the bust this way, and then the next thing I have to do is to mark, you can do 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on that side, right? So I'm going to do 1 inch below the dart and then 1 inch above the dart. This is for me to be able to cup this more, because I know this is going to be a it's going to be an altered neckline. So after that, I'm going to go up 1 inch above this line and then 1 inch below this line, 1 inch above the nipple line, 1 inch below the nipple line. Connect this one, this at the above here, connect this 1 inch to this part here, and then connect the 1 inch up the other side to this one here. Just blend in the line, and then this lower line here, you're going to bring it up more by whatever you have here, maybe 2 inches or 1 inch. I'm just going to do 1.5 because I know that will be enough for me. And then I'm going to bring it down to join this armhole. This is now my new armhole, right? So guys, now let's go in and insert your bust here. So you can do 1.5, or if you're more on the bigger side, you can do 2 inches. I'm just going to do 1.5 here and then 1.5 here. Connect the two together and then give it a curve from here all the way to this point. So you see my dart is ready. So now let me just go ahead and insert my measurements. Bust divided by 4 is 10.5 plus this 1 inch of extension that I did here, 1.5. You're going to go in and put that, and then you go back in and put in your 2 inches of sewing or 1.5 inch of sewing. The same thing down at the waist. Waist divided by 4 is 34. Sorry, 34 is my waist, divided by 4 is 8.5. Mark that. Insert back these darts here, and then I'm going to go ahead and put in extra 2 inches of sewing or 1.5 inch of sewing. Connect it this way. So now guys, like I said, the princess dart is ready. So now let's tackle the neckline. The next thing you're going to do is to bring this down from here one inch. This is where the main part of the tutorial we want starts. So you're going to mark from here. You already have 3 inches of width and 3 inches of depth, so you're going to give it a curve from here to your neckline, right? So guys, now the next step is just to come down on your neckline. You know these 3 inches of neckline you marked here. come down here by 1 inch on this neckline, and then the next thing is just to blend it into your armhole. Blend it into the armhole this way. From that 1 inch, you're going to blend it in to curve into like this, into this way, right? So you see our dart is still here, but guys, if you're more on the bustier side and you feel like the leg of your dart are almost closed after you've marked this, you can go out a little bit more, like do maybe 0.25 on the upper one, because you see the lower one still has a lot of space, but this upper one, the space in between is not much anymore. So you can still go back in here and maybe widen it a little bit so that what you're taking out will be enough to give you that grip, right? So now what we are going to do is just to go ahead and cut. So guys, first I cut off the neckline. You see, cut off even the 1 inch of coming down from the 1 inch. You just cut it off, take that out. You cut off from this straight line out here, cut into this, remove the dart here like you normally cut on your princess dart. Cut off the side, cut off the bustier part. So sew this down this way, take it this way, sew it from here to the end. Take this one, join it from here to the end. That panel, all you have to do, you see the way it is now, like I've gone ahead, that same weight of fabric is what I'm working with. I marked my 1 inch here for the zipper, and then you're going to mark your shoulder to your nipple line, your shoulder to your under bust, and your shoulder to your. So guys, all I did for the back is just a basic panel back princess dart, neckline of 3 inches of width, and then I just doing your basic princess dart for the back. That's all I'm doing right here. So once you've cut out your basic back bodies, the next thing you're going to do is just to cut this out here. I'm going to just cut out this part and here. You're going to come in here by 1 inch also. I'm going to come down here by 1 inch for my neck depth at the back, this way, right? And then another thing I'm going to do is like we did for the front. Before you even cut it, guys, I already made the mistake of cutting it before doing this, but go ahead and mark that same 1 inch, how you came down 1 inch on your neckline in front. Do the same thing on the back. Once you mark it, blend it into this side so you can get your halter neck too for the back, right? So blend it in this way into the armhole and then cut it. You can use your ruler to make sure your line is straight. So put it back together. You are supposed to do this before you cut it, so put it back together this way and go ahead and cut this halter neck part off. So guys, you can, as you can see, I've joined mine. You can join yours using lining, but in the meantime we'll get to the parts where how you are going to do that. So I'll just join the 3 pieces together, the two sides to the center, the same for the back. And then so 2 methods of cutting the flounce. You'll take your fabric, fold it into 2. I'm just showing you on the paper. Take your fabric, fold it into 2. On that edge, mark a circle, like a semicircle, and then mark a bigger one, starting small at the top and then widen it at the bottom. Then you just cut out the smaller part and then cut out the main paper. So you see what it looks like. Now, this, you're going to split the opening at the top. Then you see your flounce. It's narrow at the top and wider at the bottom. I mean, the flare is wider at the bottom. So now, guys, the second method is take your fabric again like we did before. Fold it into 2. And then what you're going to do is fold it into 2. Pick up one angle this way. Fold it again like this. And then come to one side here. Not the edge here, not this part here, but the part with all the folds. What you're going to do is take it up here. And then you're going to insert your semicircle again. And then now the next one is starting from how you want the shorter part of the circle to be, going down, and then you're going to extend it into the wider part, just like that. So now what you're going to do is, again, you're going to go ahead and cut. First, this is the second method, the same thing. You have it now, one going towards your back, one going towards your front, and then the both of them will meet by your shoulder this way. So these are the 2 methods you can use to cut it. So now let me tell you how you're going to get that semicircle we draw in. So guys, this piece I have here will be able to cut me the flounce both ways. If I want to use the the single one of just folding it into 2, I'm just cutting the first method I showed you guys. Since I'm cutting 2 at a time, I have my fabric folded this way, right? But just imagine it to be one that I'm cutting. All you have to do is just fold it again, like how I showed you guys, and then you're going to draw a semicircle inside and then a semicircle outside, and then you have it. But since I'm going to use the bias method to do it, straighten it out, and then I'm going to fold it in form of a bias, because this is the method I want to use. And then the next thing you're going to do is to go back to your top and measure what the armhole is. You have from the tip of the shoulder to the end. I already measured mine and I got like 12 inches. Measure it straight to the end. I got 12 inches for the halter neck side. You're not going to take it and just place 12 inches this way and cut it open. No. What you're going to do is you're going to fold your tape in such a way that you're trying to formulate that 12 inches, right? Wherever you want to start, you start. But just make sure you have enough fabric to still contain the width you're working with. So I think I'm just going to start somewhere in between here. And then I'm going to draw the 12 inches out. Part of the flounce, and it's longer. But this narrower part will be the upper part of my flounce. So now the next thing we are going to do is just to go up to the top here, depending on the length you want yours to be. So let's say I decide to do, if you're turning it with lining or if you're using seam allowance to sew it, I'm going to do 3.5 or so. Just anywhere my fabric is enough to contain is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to just use 3.5 on this upper part. And then as I'm going out, I'm going to just freehand it and then widen it to the highest point my fabric can go here. So you see, now I have my flounce. I think at the highest point I have about 8 inches, but you can reduce yours. But I did this because I'm not using lining. I'm just going to be turning it. I'm just going to be using 1 inch to sew it. So this part that had 3.5, I'm going to use 1 inch to fold it and then use 1/2 inch to join it. I'll be left with just 2 inches here. This part that has 8 inches, I'm going to use 1 inch to fold it, use 1/2 inch to join it here. So I'll be left with about 6.5. So so guys, you see it here, we've cut it out the way it is now. We've cut out this part, we've cut it out, and then we also cut out this inner one too. So I'm going to set everything aside now, slant it, cut it open now. And you know there are 2 of them that we have here. You see there's 2, there's 1, there's 2, but I'm not going to cut it yet. So what I'm going to do is just to take it this way, just to be sure how it's going to fit on the neckline, because this part here I'm going to sew it down like this, you see. So you see, so this part, so guys, just cut it off, cut it open, split it into 2, but don't cut anything else, right? Because one thing you don't want to do is to cut it and then the neckline is lower, so that once you join it and start sewing it, then you can go ahead and then cut off this excess. You see the excess I'm talking about, this piece here, because remember there's still going to be a band on the neckline. So just leave it the way it is now. Take one piece this way. So this is the side, this is my armhole on this side. Let me just open it so you guys will see. You see what I was saying, you should measure from here to the end, to this point where it joins to the back, you see. So all I have to do now is just to take one of the flounce, and then I'm going to take it this way and join it, starting from the tip here, join this one. All I'm going to do, each one I'm going to try to cross over. Princess dart joins is where I'm going to stop, but wherever you want you can stop. So I'm just going to make sure I top stitch it up to where the princess dart is. And then the same thing goes for the back. I'm going to go straight from the shoulder, sew it, and then stop somewhere before where my princess dart is. So whatever I have in between, guys, you're going to go ahead and mark it. So let me just mark mine to know where I'm going to stop my stitch. Mark it here, and then at the back I'm going to also mark it here. So this part now in between, so guys, all this part, you see where I notched it, I marked it. This is where my chalk marked, like where it's going to be sewn on the body of the cloth. This is on the front, this is for the back side. I'm just going to use bias to turn this over, right? I'm going to use bias to sew this in so that I can be able to fold it. But getting to this point here, I'm just going to notch it, like give it like 0.2 notch going in here. That's what I'm going to do, just 0.25, just go in a little bit, then use bias to fold from that point. This point to this point is where I'm going to use bias to. So guys, whatever you want, you can add to the bottom of your own. Like as you can see, I just cut a basic pencil skirt. If you want, you can cut like a circle to add to it and make it a flare dress. So but like I said, the whole purpose of this video is to show you guys the upper part. I've done one side. You see what I said? Just so flip over this inner part of it and then you join the rest. So let me show you with this side. You see how this part where it stops is the only part I use bias to turn over, and then I stopped, right? The rest of it I sewed it down to the body of the clothes. So this part that I sewed down now, what I'm going to do is just to use bias. I'm going to go from inside of the clothes where the two sides meet each other. So let me open it up some more so you guys should see. So that's why I didn't sew it to the end. This particular part I'm trying to show you guys is just the underarm. You see, this is the underarm, this is the back, this is the front. So but you see, this part is covering it. So basically what I did is just, like I said, that part that I notched 0.25 from one end to the other, I use bias to sew it. You see where it stops here, see where it stops on this side, and then I sewed one down in front and then sewed one down at the back. So now all I have to do is just to use bias, start from the tip of this part here and sew it all the way. I'm now sewing just on this here, you see. So I'm just going to sew it all the way, getting to where this one joins to the body. I'm just going to sew a little bit of it in and then continue my stitch all the way to the armpit. Do the same thing at the back. If I was using lining, it would have still been the same case. Sew it and make sure that your bust can fit in here, right? Once you know your bust can fit in, like is exactly your measurement. Once you close up your side seam, close this up, and it's exactly your side seam. And then you've sewn this in. You've sewn this like this. You've sewn this part of it. All you have to do is just to open it up this way and then overlay it with your lining. Like take your lining and place it on top. If I was using lining, all I would do is just take my lining, the way the body of this clothes is, you've got exactly this body of the clothes in form of a lining. You just use it to cover it, sew the neckline. That way this will be in between your lining and the clothes, right? You sew exactly up to this point, coming in under the armpit, sew it again, go back to the back neckline. Do the same thing here. On this other side, you sew the side, the center front this way, cross over. You see, once you get to this part that has this, where the bias meets the cloth, you go underneath it and sew the one under the arm. Cross over to the other side and do the same thing. That's if you're using lining. But since I'm using bias, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take my bias now, run it through this part here. Run it through this part here. But then you see, once I get to this here, I'm going to cross over on the fabric also and keep sewing. That's what I did here. If you look here, you'll see. You see, this is my sleeve here. But this is the bias running across, going in here. But I've already closed this here. As you can see, I did it separately on both sides. You see where this one meets. You first sew this plain on the cloth and then you do this. And then how I sewed it is I sewed it underneath it, right? The bias, once you join it to the body, you're going to turn it around this way and sew it. We'll go see. So guys, you see what I was saying? I've used bias to run it from this side going towards this side. You see, even to the point where this meets, where this part of it meets the body. All you have to do is just put your hand a little bit in towards that part, and then once you're done, you fold your bias this way, and then I'm going to now sew it from the back of this here all the way to the end. That's how I'm going to do it from the back. You see, I've done this side. I sewed it from the back all the way to the, sewed it from the back all the way to the armhole. This is it on the inside, you see. So now I'm going to go ahead and do that. So guys, before any other thing, you have to measure your neckline. So this is my front neckline, the center neckline. So apart from the ruffle, you see where my ruffle starts, this is my ruffle. You just have to put back this ruffle this way and then trim it to be in form of your neckline. So you're going to trim it, turn it around how it's going to lay, and then trim it off like your neckline. Do that on both sides, right? Do it on both sides. And then the next thing you have to do is to measure your neckline from one end, from one tip to the other. you're going to measure round this neckline, whatever you have. So like this, measure it from one end to the other, just like that. Whatever you get, you're also going to measure the back the same way. Don't include the ruffle. This is the back neckline. I'm going to measure it, and then this is the other side of the back, including your zipper allowance here. You're going to include that. You're going to also measure what you have here. So how you're going to measure it is just take your tape and measure. So for this side of the back, I have about 4.2. For the neckline, I have 4.2. For the center neckline, I have about, I think 8 inches for the front, and then for the back of this other side, I have about, I think 4.2 also. So I'm going to add up this, and that will be about 16 point. So this is going to be 16.4, right? So this 16.4 now is going to be the length of my band, but you're going to add extra 2 inches to it. This 2 inches is just to help you with that 1 inch that you came down by on the neckline, to give it more ease on the neck. So you're going to measure whatever you got from addition of your front neckline and the back neckline, add it together. And like I said, mine is about 16.4, sorry, and then you're going to add 2 inches to it. So that's going to be about 18.4. I'm going to just cut it at this point, and then I'm going to take this, fold it into 2, come up at this neck, at the upper part of the fold. So before that, let me tell you guys what the width I have here is. So my width is about 4.5. You can make yours shorter if you don't want your band too thick, but once it's folded, I have about 2.2, right? But remember, I'll still use half an inch to join it to the body of this. So when I'm done, I'm going to be left with band length of about 1.75. So now that you've done that, you're going to fold this into 2, and then come up here at the top. You're going to mark about half an inch, or you can do 0.75, and then blend it into the end of this and cut it off. This will help your neckline not to gape in front. So now all I have to do is just to go to my sewing machine, take the front neckline, notch it. So take the front neckline the way it's supposed to be. Guys, remember to cut your the flounce so that it can lay flat and like it's up to your neckline. And then you're going to find the center of your neck, right? And then you're going to notch it. Take the band also, notch it. There are 2 ways to do this. You can go ahead and insert this inside of your band, like sandwich this in between by tucking in half an inch on this edge here and half an inch on this edge here, this way, and then put this inside of it and just sew it like a skirt band. Or the easier way, which is just to place it on top of it, which is what I'm going to do. So you see how I've notched my center neck. I'm just going to make sure that I bring my flounce down this way, bring the other flounce down this way, trim off the neckline so it's the same. Put this notch that I have here on this notch. You see there's a notch here, and then there's also a notch here, which is the center of my band. This is the center of the front of my top. I'm going to place the 2 of them together this way. Make a stitch going up to this side, make a stitch going up to this side, right? Once I do that, I'm going to stop, skip over to the back on this side, right? You're not going to sew anything in between. Skip over to the back, go to the end, take the end of that band again. Start from the end where your zip is. You see, this is where my zip would normally fall in. Sew and come up. You might be, once you do that, you notice that you have about 1 inch in between. That is that extra 2 inches that we added. You have 1 inch in between on this side and 1 inch in between on the other side. That 1 inch will just help the neck to relax better, right? So you're going to do the same thing on this other side. Skip to the end again and join the band coming from the zipper to this part. This center is the one where is the only one where you join from the center. The rest you're going to join from the edge coming towards the inside of the band. This one you're joining from the end coming towards the center of the band. So once that is done, I'll bring you back and show you guys what it looks like. So guys, this is it here. You see what mine looks like I said, guys, anything can be the bottom. It can be a circle, it can even be shorts like a jumpsuit, it can be trouser, it can be anything you want, can be the bottom here. But I just decided to make mine a pencil skirt. So let's go back to the top. So you see what I was saying here. Once you join the center, you see the seam here, you join the center, you sew it, you stop wherever the center stops, and then you go back to the edge, you sew from the edge and come in. You see I have about 1 inch or 1.5 in between here. So what I did is just that excess, I just folded it and top stitched it. So you see where I sewed it just from one end here to the other. That's how I just sewed it down there. The same thing goes for this other side. You're just going to, when you stop at the front, you start from the end here, sew it coming in. That way you will know how much fabric. The reason why I don't want you to sew immediately you stop here, you start this one, is because you never know how much fabric you will need here, right? So but with the measurement you have, all you know is that the band is enough to go around your neck. It's just where the extra 2 inches will fall in between here. So it's better to start from the end, and then you can just, whatever space is left, you just fold it that way and sew it. So you see how mine is here. So I just flipped it in this way and top stitched it from this point to this point. So you see what mine looks like. See the bias here, see this other side here. Guys, you can even do this in form of 2 layers. You can do 1 layer, and if you want to see a video on how to make it 2 layer, please leave a comment down below. So this here is the back. You see what the back looks like. So you see how this flounce goes over on this side too. So that's basically it here. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Guys, please like, share and subscribe, and bye.